Hi, I'm Samantha Duerring, and this is Perceptions of GMOs at Meredith College. Let's start off with some definitions. We have here the definition for genetic engineering and the definition for genetic modification. While they may seem similar, genetic modification encompasses both genetic engineering, which is done in a lab, versus traditional methods such as artificial selection. GMOs can be created by both ways. When I first thought about creating this survey, I was curious what causes the debate surrounding GMOs to be such a highly contested and debated topic. After reading through some of the scientific literature, I discovered these main points that oftentimes lead to people's concern with GMOs. First off, we have biophilia, the idea that everything natural is good. This isn't necessarily the case, but things that are considered unnatural in this viewpoint are oftentimes seen as less. Or the idea of contagion, that something natural can be made unnatural by coming into contact with something that it wouldn't usually come into contact with. Next, we have moral concerns, which oftentimes involve religion. Sometimes there's opposition that scientists are playing God in a sense where two species or genetic material from one species is moved into another in a way that couldn't happen without scientific intervention. So there are disagree with this point. One of the biggest issues in the debate is media and misinformation. A lot of times, the majority of people get their information from non-scientific sources, such as social media like Facebook and the online news or evening news. A lot of times, this information can be skewed toward other people's agendas, such as in the case of advertising and a lot of commercials. You hear them all the time saying non-GMO. For example, Chipotle's menu advertises all of its food as non-GMO. It's a marketing campaign that makes people afraid. There is also, under this category, is activist groups who don't necessarily have the best science behind what they're saying, although they have the ability to sometimes talk the loudest. An increase in scientific knowledge is positively correlated with less concern. One thing that may surprise viewers is that if we take the idea of GMOs down the route of genetic modification, so genetically modified organisms, humanity has actually been genetically modifying organisms for thousands of years. One of the most notable examples of this, not necessarily the first, is corn. Originally, it was a very small plant with very few kernels, but now you see this giant head of corn with all of these kernels. And it's all as over time, humans have selectively bred the traits that we want in our corn crop. Also, another example is the banana. Bananas were once not shaped the way that they currently are. They were not sweet, where they had seeds, and they were, for the most part, rather unappetizing. But we've also done this with the domesticated dog, which you can see here. There's a picture of a wolf versus my chihuahuas. I wanted to see, by doing this survey at Meredith, how the views differed between a national survey and the views held on a college campus. A lot of times college students are exposed to differing world and higher levels of science education. I hypothesized that if I conducted this survey at Meredith, that the trends would, for the most part, echo the national literature and the national surveys that I read through. I had about 500 responses, with 83 of those proving to be non-valid in some way. The survey ran for a month in total, with a reminder every 2 weeks to those taking the survey, which were the faculty, staff, and students at Meredith College. There were questions designed to answer different questions involving the topics previously mentioned, such as levels of concern between students and faculty, as well as questions to measure participants' scientific knowledge and other demographic areas, such as age, college degree, and religion. Here are the results of the survey. Overall, the Meredith College survey had a percentage of concern, 50.35%, which did mirror the level of concern in the national literature. Here is the percentages for the staff versus the students. Faculty and staff were 54.5%, and students' level of concern was 47.9%, so a little bit lower. This is pretty close to how the literature portrayed it. The younger portion of participants had a lower level of overall concern than their older counterparts, which was what the literature indicated it would end up being. Younger students or younger people are shown to usually have more acceptance when it comes to GMOs than their older counterparts. For the most part, the debate on GMOs is actually not very polarized on a political standpoint. It's pretty even between the left and the right, which is the only difference would be the category of libertarian, with a percentile of 55.74. Overall, the majority of respondents did not have any problems with their religion and GMOs. 84.17% of the percentage that did, however, 95.46% also had a high overall concern. Next up is the media sources where people got their information. As you can see here, 34.76% of respondents got their information from more scientific sources, while 52.97% got theirs from public media, which means things like news, TV, and radio. The majority of people, 59.78%, actually got their information from social media, such as Facebook and friends and family. This result shows the last time the respondents took a biology course, with 34.29% within the last year, 27.10% within 2 to 5 years ago, and 38.61% 6 or more years ago. I asked this question in order to test the respondents' basic scientific knowledge in the form of this true or false question GMO corn has genes and non-GMO corn does not. True or false? The majority of respondents did answer the question correctly. The answer was false. Of this percentile, less than half had concerns about GMOs. Of those that got it wrong, however, 79.16% had some level of concern about GMOs. This shows the correlation between scientific knowledge and concern surrounding the topic. Of those that answered incorrect, the majority got their information from public media and social media, with only 12.5% getting their information from college courses. None got their information from scientific literature. It would prove beneficial to run the several more years at Meredith to see if all of these results can be duplicated, just to make sure nothing was really an outlier. Afterwards, it would be interesting to deploy the survey to schools in the Raleigh area. One thing that I definitely realized after completing this research is the fact that information is powerful, even if it's the wrong information. If people were able to get the information from scientific literature more often than public media, then this debate would probably not have nearly as many layers. It's very difficult for someone who does not have any type of scientific background to sift through information and find the relevant material in all of the false information out. I'm hoping that this survey can be used to further educate students on finding better information and better information searching techniques, so that the future of this debate can be a little bit more straightforward in the future. If you would like to see more, see my thesis coming soon to Carlisle Campbell Library at Meredith. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.